Good evening. I'm Walter Cronkskull, and this is the news. Tonight, a major recall on corpse cards is leaving Von Carstein Motors looking rather red. And is the moon getting closer? More at 11. But first, the weather. The rest of the week is looking to be a wonderfully wet and dreary affair with a slight break midweek, perfect for letting out the moisture from those pesky joint sockets. And now to sports. As portents continue to reveal themselves, various battles are being fought across Shyish. Luckily, we have several reports of their outcomes. Each of the battles, written in the mist, mystical riddles formed to lend strange and wonderful power to those that could discern their meaning. Leonardo de Skeleton, our in-tomb artist, painted a likeness. I have it here. Forgive him, he is only a skeleton. It reads, "To avoid death in Shyish, it's important to see, to know the true soul blight, that the first vampire was not a he." I'm sure Lady Neferata was rather flattered to be mentioned directly. The first battle, we were lucky enough to enthrall an unlucky Nurgle scribe to hear his report. It is as follows. Bilescum, the Great Unclean One, traveled with his Taliban towards the revoltingly prosperous forest within the realm of Agayan, the realm of life. Bilescum knew that the great-grandfather Nurgle recently had come to the realization that he should share his gift amongst all the realms instead of only blessing Gairan. However, as of late, strange signs and omens have been appearing. Farmers' crops have died overnight. Large packs of animals have died in open fields within the blinking of an eye, leaving only rotten carcasses in their places. Bilescum knew these signs must mean only one thing, that now is the right time to bring Nurgle's blessing to the realm of Gaian. Bilescum mustered as large of a Taliban as he could, and prepared for his foreseen victory, and rejoiced at the sight of being able to provide the great-grandfather with his most sought-after prize. So far, the path to victory has provided very little resistance. The goddess of life and her minions must have sensed the greater power of Bilescum and his Taliban and retreated. Even now, as they approached the great fortress-like forest, Bilescum could sense his imminent victory at hand. It was shortly after crossing the threshold, the forest tree line, that Bilescum realized something was not right. He had expected a mighty force waiting for him on the other side, preparing to defend their home to the last man. But there was nothing, only darkness and silence. Could the forces of the realm of life be so depleted? He thought. Had someone else already beaten him to his rightly deserved prize? No, it was something else. This was a trap. Before he could alert any of his retinue, a bright green light encompassed the entire army. The last and only thing Bilescum heard was a booming voice. "You do not belong here, creatures of foulness." The darkness took him. When the darkness dissipated, Bilescum realized he was not where he expected to be. When a demon of Nurgle is expelled from the mortal realm, they are returned to the great garden of Nurgle. However, this was a barren wasteland devoid of all life, a land where the great cycle ends and never begins. This was the polar opposite of the land he was just in. At this point, Bilescum realized there was only one place that fit this description. He and his Taliban were in Shyish, a good place, the realm of death. The distraction of the relocation of his Taliban and himself, Bilescum had hardly noticed that the force of short, stout, barely clothed mortals charging at him and his Taliban with axes in hand, ready to cleave apart the rotting flesh of his retinue. He recognized these as the mortals who called themselves Fire Slayers. At this point, Bilescum understood the great-grandfather had given him the opportunity to redeem his recent error and prove his worth, and to bring Nurgle's gift to the land of the dead, and force the cycle to begin where it never was before. The bodies of the mortals charging at him would make great fertilizer for his new garden. The battle lines met next to feculent Gnarlmob Bilescum had summoned just barely in preparation for the imminent battle. One unit of plague bearers met with a unit of fire slayers 3 times their number, each grasping at sharpened axe in each hand, thirsting for the taste of rotten flesh. But this day Nurgle's gift was strong, as many of the attacks either bounced off the plague bearer's leathery hide or hit non-vital spots, which just absorbed the impact with no damage caused. On the other flank, the other unit of plague bearers were not so lucky. The leader of the fire slayers, riding a magmadroth and accompanied by his personal elite bodyguards, wreaked havoc. One of the plague bearer unit destroying each and every one. Although the destruction of his plague bearers was unfortunate, it did allow Bilescum a chance to engage the fire slayer general directly. With a flurry of attacks, which seemed unnatural for a create of its size, Bilescum swiftly ended the life of his adversary and proceeded to do the same for his bodyguard. This day Nurgle's resilience was especially strong, and it appeared as if nothing could cause any of the Taliban to do so much as flinch. It was not long until the fire slayer numbers were no longer a threat, and the battle was over. Bilescum turned to his Taliban and instructed them to use the bodies to help feed the newly sprouting garden of Nurgle. It is clear that we must claim this land in the name of Grandfather. Look as a new garden grows where nothing grew before. This land is ready to receive Nurgle's gift, he was quoted. With the declaration, Bilescum and his Taliban headed further into Shyish. That is the end of the first battle report that we have received. On to the next, where we similarly enthralled yet another Tzeentch Arcanite to hear his report. Luckily, it is much shorter. When the Frostlord had been contacted by a mysterious stranger to kill a Tzeentch Arcanite cult twice, he had almost killed the cloaked messenger. Then he heard the conditions of the payment. A week later, most of his warband arrived at the spot where they would ambush the Tzeentch cult. The result of his warband had made a pilgrimage to Shyish, ready to send new arrivals to a second permanent death. The field of battle was foggy, and there was no sound perfect for an ambush. The thunder tusk that the Frostlord rode grunted with impatience and pulled at its reins. The Frostlord was waiting for the perfect moment for the fog, before the fog would lift, and he could sound the charge. Then he noticed the slight change in light and made ready. Then he smelled the brimstone. Then he saw the light of 100 bolts of colored flame. The warband in Shyish waited 2 full days before they started their pilgrimage back to Gur. They never found their Frostlord, and they never found out that the cloaked messenger had been the Dark Oath War Queen. Oh, this just in. We have a report. Yes, the Beastclaw Raiders have also handed us a rather simple report. Beastclaw. Army advances. Hunter appears behind Death Army. Frost and Mournfang Pack charge a group of skeletons and spirit hosts. Only one spirit host left. Death. Shaman with questionable level of intoxication unbinds Archon's magic. With nothing left defending him, Archon charges the Frostlord. Archon lives, but barely. Hexwraiths also charge Frostlord. Frostlord lives, but barely. Elsewhere, a pack of Mournfang who failed their charge are themselves charged by another group of skeletons. The skeletons get pulverized. Archon bolts the Frostlord dead. Elsewhere, the Mournfang are this time charged by a unit of Black Knights. These skeletons get iron-fisted to dust as well. The Frost-Toothed Hounds finally catch up and tear poor Archon apart. Mournfangs and the Hounds clash with the remaining Death Heroes. Lots of Beastclaw die as Death Heroes hang on with one wound. I don't know what he means by that. Presumably, barely alive. The irresponsibly intoxicated shaman releases the remaining Death Heroes from their ties to the realm. The Hounds ate the rest. A very succinct battle report. Last but not least, we have a rare treat in the personal diary of Neferata. It so reads: Reclaiming Grave Sand Supply. I have been tasked by Nagash himself to investigate why our grave sand supply stopped. Why am I attending to this? The incompetent imbeciles must have somehow damaged the supply lines. This is so beneath my skill and intelligence, but alas, Nagash asked, which was a thinly veiled order. Trouble in the Shyish. A glint of gold shimmered in the sun. Before I knew what was happening, we were to face with the Soul Stealer scum storm cast Eternals. No time to prepare for battle. We started with a heavily offensive. Their untrue leader, Sigmar, a breath away, watching over them, I was sure. How else could they have defeated my troops? But no, it was not my doing that caused the defeat. That damn necromancer Rias couldn't get any spells off in time. It's as if he'd forgotten to read the spell book from infancy. Even with my valiant efforts, the skeleton swarms were also moronic in their ability. Everything was left for me to finish, which I did. I killed their leader, which my own troops perished behind me. While my own troops perished behind me, I was left with a swarm of Soul Stealer scum, surrounded with no way out. I will never speak of this battle to Nagash. Instead, I will collect myself until my wounds have healed and investigate the grave supply myself. Vengeance on the rest of the soul-stealing scum shall be mine, till next we meet. What a rare treat that was. Who wouldn't want to meet our Lady Neferata's ghouls? Oh, this just in. Another battle report from our brave vampire on another plane. It reads, after tunneling into the underworld by accident, the Emerald Mountain dispossessed were set upon by my lord and his skeletal attendants. Despite sinking volleys of lead into the vampire lord and his zombie dragon mount, the lord survived to cut the offending gunners down to the man before encircling the remaining dispossessed and bringing them into submission. We reached out to the Fire Slayer General, who crawled off the scene, and he was quoted as saying, "The Fire Slayers were brave, but bravery counts for little in war. Truer words never spoken." This has been the news from Shyish. I am Walter Cronkskull. Thank you, and good night.